5 people destroyed my life in the span of a single week: an uncle, an aunt, 2 cousins, and the family lawyer. By the end of this story, every single one of them will have lost exactly what they deserved to lose, and I will be standing in my father's house watching the last one get put into the back of a police car. I grew up in rural Tennessee, but I'd spent 12 years in Chicago building a life of my own. I only came back because my father died. He was 67, a cattle farmer who loved his 40 acres of land almost as much as he loved me. He'd promised me that land was mine, and that the documents were already with his attorney. 3 days after the funeral, I sat in the office of that attorney, Mr. Patterson. He'd known me since I was 8 years old. He looked me in the eye and slid a document across his desk that changed everything. It was a new will, supposedly updated months earlier. It left the house, the cattle, and the full $1.2 million estate to my Uncle Ray. My inheritance was a single check for $12,000. Ray, his wife Carol, and their sons Derek and Tyler were all in the room. They didn't look shocked or grieving. They looked ready. In that moment, I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding or a change of heart from my father. It was a coordinated theft. I tried to fight back immediately by going to the farmhouse to get my father's journals. My cousin Derek was waiting in the driveway. He told me I was trespassing on a state property and threatened to call the sheriff if I didn't leave. When I didn't leave town, the family escalated. They filed a report with the county, claiming my grief had made me mentally unstable and a danger to myself. Then, 2 armed deputies arrived at my cheap motel room to take me for a mandatory 72-hour psychiatric evaluation. I spent 3 days locked in a facility with no allies. My own lawyer called to say he was dropping my case after speaking with Mr. Patterson. When I was finally released, I had $340 in my account, a motel room, and no legal standing to even step foot on the land I grew up on. They used the law and my own grief to remove me from the board. But in trying to leave me with nothing, they actually gave me the ultimate advantage. I no longer had anything left to lose. I found Diane Foster, a probate attorney from Nashville who specialized in the kind of estate disputes small-town families think they can get away with. Her philosophy was simple. Someone who forges a document can hide the original, but they can't hide the paper trail created while they were making the fake. We compared the dates on the will to his hospital records. When allegedly signed, he was heavily medicated and completely incoherent. Then we checked the witnesses. One signature was Derek's business partner, a conflict proving the signing was staged. The breakthrough came from a source the family had overlooked. I was a co-signer on my father's safety deposit box at the county bank. Inside, I found a sealed envelope containing a notarized copy of his original will, witnessed by people outside the family circle, leaving everything to me. My father had seen what Ray was planning from his hospital bed. He couldn't stop them from forging a new document, but he could ensure the truth was waiting for me in a place Ray couldn't touch. I finally had a weapon. I didn't file a single lawsuit to stop them. Instead, I used the documentation we'd gathered to dismantle their lives one by one, hitting them where they were most vulnerable. My cousin Tyler had been running his construction business using loans from my father's estate that were never declared or repaid. We sent the evidence to the IRS and the state licensing board. His business collapsed when his contractor's license was revoked 6 weeks later. For Derek, forensics mapped his location pings and cash withdrawals to a neighboring town. His wife received the evidence and won full custody. Aunt Carol ran personal expenses through clients' accounts. An IRS tip triggered an audit, ending her career. Then there was Patterson. We filed a 47-page complaint with the Board of Professional Responsibility detailing his role in the forgery. He chose to surrender his law license after 34 years rather than face a public hearing. By the time we turned our attention to Uncle Ray, we had a mountain of evidence for a specific criminal charge: elder financial abuse. My family thought they were victims of a streak of bad luck. In reality, they were simply facing the consequences of the paper trails they had left behind. They underestimated me, and in doing so, they provided every tool I needed to ruin them. Uncle Ray's downfall was his own impatience. He hadn't waited for my father to pass away before he started moving money. He had executed several large transfers from my father's accounts into his own while my father was still alive and incapacitated in the hospital. Those transfers moved the case from a civil dispute over a will into a criminal felony. In Tennessee, taking advantage of a vulnerable senior's finances carries a mandatory prison sentence when the amounts are this high. The jury voided the fraudulent will and restored the 40-acre property to me in full. Based on the financial evidence, the district attorney followed through with criminal charges. Ray was sentenced to 3 years in state prison. I'm back in my father's house now, my house. I spend my mornings on the porch, reading through the journals I finally recovered, taking in the land that stayed in my family because I refused to walk away. I don't feel any guilt for what happened to Patterson or Derek or the rest of them. They chose to use a man's death as an opportunity for theft. They chose to weaponize my grief against me. If you ever find yourself in a fight with people who think they can take everything from you, remember this: greedy people always leave a trail. If you have the patience to find it, you can take it all back. Use that patience well.